I don't know what'll get there. I'd like to do a 10 million pool next year. See, I think it's going to be a lot easier to get money, sponsors, all this stuff. We proved it. Year 2, you really prove it. And then you got something. I've invited 2 people so far. They both said yes. I don't know how serious the yeses are. Caitlyn said yes. Kaya Trump said yes. Those are my 2 that I've asked. Whether push comes to shove and those 2 are available and do it,
Okay, Caitlin Clark just said yes to Dave Portnoy's offer, and the WNBA is absolutely freaking out. Get this, Dave Portnoy invited her to his gigantic internet golf invitational, and she agreed to it. Now, we're not talking about some minor charity thing that gets a few thousand eyeballs. This is a tournament that commands between 20 and 25 million views, with a prize pool that could hit 10 million bucks. So, while the WNBA is tripping over itself trying to figure out how to promote its number 1 asset, Portnoy has already secured her for next year's event. The sheer terror in the league's front office has to be off the charts right now. I'll get into how she could be used to set up a $10 million deal. But here's the real question I have for you. Should she continue building her own empire completely separate from basketball? Or is it better for her to stay focused entirely on the WNBA? Let me know what you think down below. Let's really dig into what just went down, because the ripple effects here are way bigger than you might think. And you have to know who we're talking about here. Dave Portnoy, the man who created Barstool Sports, and is infamous for not caring at all about who he offends. He's been turning his internet invitational into an absolute behemoth. This is nothing like your standard celebrity golf outing, where a bunch of people just show up to hack it around for a good cause. Portnoy strategically partnered with Bob Does Sports, a golf content guy with an insane amount of influence, and the 2 of them have cooked up an event that achieves viewing figures that most pro leagues can only dream of.
You talked about if Caitlyn did her own league. Do you know anything about what you would want to see her do? You said you'd partner with her and give her $100 million. That's the biggest offer that she's gotten.
if she would have let me be her agent, I would have in a second. And if she's like, I'll start a new league with you, I would get her whatever you want. I don't think she'll ever do that. Like, I talk with her never about that stuff. She has State Farm, Nike, Gatorade. Those are like blue bloods. Ryan's a Tom Brady in a way. Like, very rarely, if ever, publicly says anything that like should cause any waves. She's kind of like been a good trooper for the Fever and the league. So I think she wants to make the WNBA work. I think she grew up wanting to play in it, but you have to have a certain personality. Like, I think if she truly was like, I'm out of here, I'm starting my own league, she'd have people lining up, including myself, and she would put the WNBA out of business. I really do believe that.
Who can say for sure when someone asked Portnoy about his plans for next year's tournament, like if he was thinking of making it even bigger, his response was instant. Every single year, not maybe, or we'll see what happens. He said every year, and right after that, he dropped the news that must have WNBA execs scrambling for Toms. He's apparently invited 2 people so far, and they both agreed. Caitlin Clark and somebody named Kaya Trump. Now, to be fair, Portnoy's totally upfront about it. He admitted he's not sure how committed those yes really are, or if their schedules will even permit it when the time comes. But honestly, the simple fact that Clark even gave a tentative yes speaks volumes about her strategy for building her personal brand. And the prize money Portnoy is shooting for next year, a cool $10 million. That's 10 million bucks for a golf event that features a mix of internet stars, pro athletes, and other celebrities. And this is the part that should absolutely petrify the WNBA. If Caitlin Clark actually follows through and plays, companies will be lining up, checkbooks out, just to be associated with this thing. Her participation alone is a guarantee for huge viewership, off the charts, engagement, and a media frenzy. That's the exact same kind of presence the WNBA seems hell-bent on, undervaluing every single chance they get. This whole thing really got its start at the Annika Pro-Am, where Clark was playing with other big names at the Pelican Golf Club. We covered that event in detail, talking about how Clark smashed attendance and viewing records, how the LPGA gave her the royal treatment and laid out the red carpet, and how it was impossible not to notice the massive gap between that and how the WNBA treats its biggest star. Well, guess who was watching? Portnoy was. He saw those incredible numbers. He felt that insane energy, and he made his move to get Clark for his own event before anyone else even had a chance. The brilliance of Portnoy's method is that he gets a fundamental truth the WNBA just can't seem to wrap its head around. You don't just sit back and hope stars fall into your lap. You go after them hard. You give them a stage that's worthy of their talent, and you make it clear they're valued. For 2 years, the WNBA has basically allowed Clark to get roughed up game after game, offering her almost no real protection and a marketing effort that was lukewarm at best. Portnoy, on the other hand, watches her play one round of golf and immediately says, she needs to be at my event next year. That right there is the fundamental gap between an organization that knows how to leverage stardom and one that just assumes it'll always be there. And speaking of which, let's talk about Sophie Cunningham, because her role in this whole story adds another really interesting dimension. Sophie was out there as a celebrity caddy during the Annika Pro-Am with Lexi Holt, and something unexpected happened while she was there. People started noticing her golf swing. For a person who said she barely even plays, Sophie had this natural talent that really turned some heads. And now, it looks like she's planning to do something with that raw potential. On her podcast, Show Me Something, which she co-hosts with West Wilson from reality TV, Sophie dropped an announcement that ties right back into Clark's journey into golf. She mentioned that she believes she has some real talent for the sport and is going to begin playing it a lot more seriously. She put it this way: her usual escape has always been the pool or the beach, whereas Clark's escape is the golf course. But after what they all went through at the Annika event, Sophie is ready to get in on that scene too. The key quote was basically, I think the three of us, me, her and Lexi, are going to get out and play a lot more. She said they had an incredible time, a total blast, and that it was such a different atmosphere from basketball. Super cool. So, what you have there is 3 teammates from the Indiana Fever connecting over golf in the off-season, building real chemistry away from all the stress of the game, and maybe even setting up content deals that could push their brands way beyond what the WNBA could ever offer. And her podcast situation is also pretty wild. Apparently, there were some talks about moving her show over to Barstool Sports, which would have let Portnoy bring her into his whole media universe. But for whatever reason, some existing deals she had got in the way, so it never happened. The show ended up on Colin Cowherd's network, The Volume, which is still a great spot, but just think about what could have been if Sophie had joined Barstool. The synergy between her show, Portnoy's tournament, and Clark's rising profile in the golf world could have been absolutely massive. The way all these different threads connect really paints a picture of what athlete brand building is all about in 2024. And for the future, it's not about just sticking to your sport and praying your league does a good job promoting you. It's all about setting up different ways to make money, forging connections in all sorts of industries, and putting yourself in a position to jump on opportunities as they pop up. Clark understands this on an instinctual level. Sophie's catching on fast, and the WNBA is just stuck on the sidelines, totally confused about why its players keep finding major success at events the league has nothing to do with. And while we're on the topic of success outside the WNBA, let's put Portnoy's viewing numbers into context. He said his Internet Invitational got somewhere around 20 to 25 million views over about a month. Let's compare that to the WNBA, where most regular season games are lucky to even get 1 million viewers. Even the league's biggest games with Clark might pull in 2 or 3 million on a good day. Portnoy is pulling in 10 times that level of engagement with a golf event starring internet celebrities. And now he's about to add the single biggest name in women's basketball to his lineup for next year. I don't give a damn what the league was doing 10 or 5 years ago. None of that matters in a negotiation. You can't say, well, we've been losing money for 15 or 20 years, because that's irrelevant. What matters is right now. You have to seize the moment. That's just how business works. So you can't ever really know, because the commissioner is always stuck in the middle. They're always the one who has to take the heat for what the owners don't want to deal with. And honestly, who even knows what the real financial numbers are? When they say, well, the owners, you don't really know because it's all tangled up with the WNBA. It's so convoluted, trying to figure out what they're actually making or losing, And if the numbers are going up, it's actually in the owner's best interest to keep the real figures hidden. But just looking at the TV ratings and the media deals, I wrote a piece the second Caitlyn signed her Nike deal. Instantly, I was like, this is the stupidest thing ever. I wish I had been her agent. She got totally fleeced. And it's true, if you look back at it, think about her power. And when her signature shoe drops, we'll see the sales numbers. They're giving Devin Booker something like $40 million a year. And Caitlyn is getting what? 8. How on earth is Devin Booker worth $40 million a year while Caitlyn is only worth 8? It makes no sense. The potential is all there. It's all pointing up. And the league is just not capitalizing on it. And it's obvious the players have completely lost faith in Kathy. So the math here is just absolutely devastating for the WNBA. Their most important player creates more excitement playing golf with the founder of Barstool Sports than she does playing actual basketball for the league. And that's not on Clark. That is a colossal failure of marketing. The WNBA was handed a once-in-a-generation talent, a player who sold out arenas in college and brought more attention to women's basketball than ever before. And their reaction was to let other teams physically beat her up, while the league put out pathetic statements about competitive fire. At the same time, Portnoy sees Clark at one single golf event and immediately gets her for his tournament. The LPGA sees her at one pro-am and treats her like the cash cow that she is. It seems like every organization that isn't the WNBA actually understands Clark's value better than the league she plays for. It's frankly embarrassing, and it should be a huge red flag for any WNBA executive who gives a damn about the league's future. Now, some people are gonna argue that Clark should just concentrate on basketball during her career and worry about brand building after she retires. Those people have no clue how modern sports careers operate. Your time on the court is short. Injuries can happen at any moment. The public's attention moves on fast. You have to build your brand while you're hot, while everyone cares, and while the offers are rolling in. Clark is on fire right now. People are obsessed with her right now. The opportunities are flooding in right now. To wait would be a massive mistake, and the golf move, specifically, is genius for a bunch of reasons. First, it's a sport that has huge appeal with the exact audience that sponsors are willing to pay top dollar to reach. Second, it has a very low risk of injury compared to basketball, so Clark can do it without putting her main job in jeopardy. Third, it opens up content opportunities that get her in front of totally new audiences. Fourth, it lets her build relationships with major players in media and business who can create opportunities that basketball never could. And fifth, it's something she actually loves to do, which makes her involvement feel real, and not like some forced marketing stunt. That authenticity is more important than you'd think. When athletes take on brand deals or show up at events that feel fake, people can spot it from a mile away. Clark's involvement in golf feels real, because she genuinely loves playing. She's been at it for years. She's actually pretty good, and you can see how much fun she's having when she's on the course. That realness creates a level of engagement that brands could never fake. And having Sophie Cunningham figuring all this out right beside Clark opens up some really cool possibilities for the Fever. As a team, imagine 3 teammates connecting over golf, making content together, and building chemistry away from the court. That's the kind of natural team culture that leads to championships and brings in new fans. Other teams in the WNBA should be looking at what Indiana is doing and wondering why their own players aren't finding similar opportunities. Portnoy's invitation also sends a message about Clark's incredible and growing power across the entire sports media world. Dave Portnoy doesn't invite people to his events just because he needs to fill spots. He invites them because they bring value. By inviting Clark, he's basically admitting that she's now one of the most valuable names in all of sports. Period. Not just women's sports, all sports. And that's a huge distinction because it proves Clark has broken free from the limiting boxes that organizations often try to shove female athletes into. When Portnoy starts talking about a $10 million prize pool for next year, he's not just fantasizing, he's running the numbers. He knows that having Clark involved guarantees a flood of sponsor interest that makes that prize money totally realistic. He knows his viewership is going to go through the roof if she plays. He knows the media will cover it non-stop because anything Clark does is a major headline. He's not doing her a favor here. He's making a smart business move that's good for both of them. And that idea of mutual benefit is exactly what the WNBA just doesn't get. Their relationship with Clark is supposed to be a two-way street. She delivers viewers, ticket sales, and revenue. In return, they're supposed to give her protection, marketing, and a salary that reflects what she's worth. But instead, it's felt completely one-sided, with Clark providing all the value while the league gives her almost nothing back. And other organizations see this imbalance and are positioning themselves to pick up all the value the WNBA is just leaving on the ground. The implications for free agency are worth thinking about too. Sophie Cunningham has a huge decision to make soon about where she plays next. If she's building businesses and brand deals in the off-season that are connected to her teammates on the Fever, that gives her a major reason to stay in Indiana. That goes way beyond her basketball contract. Players are making these choices based on the total package, not just salary. The fact that the Fever organization provides a place where players can grow their brands alongside their careers is a massive recruiting tool. And this all comes back to the main point. Caitlin Clark saying yes to Dave Portnoy's invitation is just one more sign that she is building her value completely outside of the WNBA's sphere of influence. She's not waiting around for the league to market her correctly. She's not hoping they'll one day see her true value. She is actively creating her own opportunities, teaming up with people who get what she's worth, and building an empire that will succeed no matter what the WNBA does. The panic in those league offices is justified, not because Clark playing in a golf tournament is a direct threat, but because it proves just how easily their biggest asset can create a massive buzz without them. Every successful brand partnership Clark makes outside the WNBA is another reminder of the value the league is losing by not treating her right. Every record she sets at a golf event is another headline that could have been about basketball if the league had just played its cards differently. Portnoy proved a critical point with this invite. The market for Caitlin Clark goes so far beyond basketball, beyond women's sports, and beyond anything the WNBA could have possibly imagined. And he's ready to pay top dollar to tap into that market, while the WNBA is busy arguing about salary caps and labor agreements. Clark said yes to Portnoy because she gets what the WNBA refuses to see. Her value isn't limited to the basketball court, and smart people will pay for access to it. While the league is trying to figure out what to do with its golden goose, everyone else is already lining up to get a piece. Portnoy got her locked in with a single conversation. The WNBA has had her for 2 years and they still don't have a clue. If this whole breakdown made you realize why Clark is dominating both on and off the court, smash that like button and make sure you're subscribed. We are following every single twist in this story, and believe me, you are not going to want to miss what comes next.